Philippines has now surpassed Indonesia as the country with the highest number of COVID-19 cases in South Asia.
Tutuloy po ang mga pag-equip laban sa COVID-19 sa lungsod naman ng Davao. Mananatili sila sa General Community Quarantine.
Despite being one of the world's toughest and longest lockdowns, the ultra-strict quarantine has left Filipinos vulnerable, particularly the poor, which left them in hunger.
Malulun tamo-tamo ka. Kamansin lang. Paglagyan mo ikaon.
This COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected the economic and social aspects of our country. It usually hit the underprivileged first and worse, thus leaving them even further behind. It has been reported that there is a significant deterioration in the living standard of the unfortunate people due to loss of income and an increase in expenses, as well as disruptions to healthcare services and education during the pandemic. Most of the people who belong in this class were vulnerable, for they live in rural areas, working agriculture and small service sectors that lead them to limited savings and inadequate safety nets for most of their daily income as enough for survival. Hence, they are most likely to bear the most severe impact of the pandemic.
Davao region is touted as Mindanao's center for trade and investments. As the region progresses, 13.7% of the population, or roughly 1 out of 5 families, were estimated to be poor in 2018, even before the pandemic. Consequently, when the epidemic struck, the region was forced to implement urgent lockdowns, which caused panic among the community. But then the pandemic started. This caused the region to put up rush lockdowns that made the people panic due to the sudden rules. As a result, this abrupt lockdown, which lasted for a long time, numerous Davaoenos started to lose their jobs. Just like how Mark Polo Hotel stopped its operations, and thus 300 employees lost their jobs.
Prioridad nila na maibigay ang mga pangangailangan ng kanilang mga empleyado habang kaya pa nila, kasabay ng pagpapasalamat sa naiambag ng mga empleyado sa tagumpay ng hotel sa loob ng 22 taon.
As they say, the unemployment rate has a directly proportional relationship with poverty. Thus, as the unemployment rate increases, the poverty rate increases. It is a major event in life and can have a devastating impact on people's life, as it reduces people's income and reduces their ability to save. The poor and marginalized population is the most affected by the pandemic. With income loss, they cannot afford to buy their basic food and non-food needs, thus may result in malnutrition, reduction of human capital and productivity. More people will be highly dependent on government services, limited access to education, limited access to healthcare, among others. Thus, this massive increase in unemployment due to pandemic has resulted in an increase in poverty incidence in our country.
While rising poverty rates, increasing hunger levels, and stagnating GDP have been common for industrializing countries in this pandemic, the Philippines sees the woes as potential wins. Opportunities to flip its eager human capital into a kickstarter for economic growth. One of the projects is a Build, Build, Build program, a project that involves building infrastructures across the Philippines. The country's infrastructure projects may help provide employment to its citizens and may lessen the poverty rate.
To help the most affected during this pandemic, Nita 11 has partnered with the Department of Agriculture and LGUs to conduct presyo descuento caravans to provide discounted basic commodities and necessities to consumers in marginalized areas. It also strengthened its hybrid monitoring activities to ensure the stability of prices and supply of prime commodities and basic necessities. The office has conducted free online training and seminars for those people who wanted to start a business, intending to maximize the potentials of barangays to become economically independent and make them more effective partners in the attainment of the national goal. The DTI 11 offices implemented the Negosyo Serbisyo sa Barangay to include the indigenous people, local communities armed conflict-affected areas, MSMEs affected by the pandemic, and refugees of persons of concerns. It is a livelihood seeding and entrepreneurship development program for micro-enterprises, prioritizing areas affected by fire incidents and other calamities, including health disasters such as pandemics, and individuals and enterprises who have voluntarily moved to identify rural areas under the Balik Probinsya program for the purpose of establishing and relocating a micro-enterprise. The DTI 11 office has distributed negosyo kits to MSMEs and conducted training that benefited participants in barangay in the region. These participants were mostly victims of natural and man-made calamities or those affected by the pandemic, among others. The Department of Trade and Industry 11 has undertaken more responsive programs to address the pressing needs of the public, most especially the unfortunate, to hurdle and recover from the prevalent socio-economic setbacks due to pandemic.
As a result of governments and various organizations' initiative to assist the unfortunates, some citizens have also stepped forward to assist since they share the same goal.
We have the power to adapt to whatever scenario we may encounter or already involved in as individuals. Most of us are always willing to assist others in times of needs. It's easy to look around and see how the COVID-19 crisis has brought out the worst in some people. But in every moment of darkness, it seems that there are countless moments of light.
Minsan naiyak ako dyan, kung lang mag-isa. Minsan naisipan ko nga may bigla ako, yun kaya.
Will this, however, be sufficient to ensure survival in these challenging times? Who are we going to blame if something goes wrong? The government or the people?